The evolution of the American house, from small colonial salt boxes to McMansions, from turreted Victorian-era Queen Anne's to mid-century modern swag pads, might seem like huge stylistic leaps, but when you consider the entire timeline of changing cultural values, aesthetic preferences, and the rise of technology, these leaps in fashion seem like a natural progression. Hi everyone, Ken here. Today we're tracing the evolution of the American home. Hit that subscribe button and let's uncover the origins of this house. In the late 18th century, what you built depended largely on whose flag once flew overhead. Spanish colonial settlers in the southwest molded thick adobe blocks into courtyard-centered casas that could shrug off desert heat and occasional siege. Dutch colonials along the Hudson piled heavy fieldstone walls beneath trademark gambrel roofs, their flared eaves shielding onions in the cellar and traders on the stoop. And down along the Mississippi River, French colonial plantation houses raised themselves on piers to outwit floods, their galleries wrapped in delicate wood and lace. Meanwhile, on the Atlantic seaboard, prosperous merchants signaled loyalty to Enlightenment ideals with brick-and-belt coarse Georgian boxes, symmetrical, decorous, and a yearning for European sophistication. Young America's first homegrown look arrived with the Federal style after 1789. Builders borrowed Roman geometry, fanlights, elliptical stair halls, and whittled away at what was seen as pretentious Georgian heft until facades seemed to breathe. Glassmakers and carpenters thrived, but everyone else still cut timber by hand. That pre-railroad reality meant most houses remained stubbornly local, made from what sat within wagon's reach. Out on the Ohio frontier, settlers improvised a plain, 1.5-story form historians now call the national style. Minimal trim, central chimneys, and a scallop picket fence if you had the time. Industrialization shattered those limits, first the Erie Canal, then the transcontinental railroads divvied out milled lumber and factory-rolled nails into every prairie hamlet. Suddenly, Greek Revival porticos with saucer-sized Ionic capitals could sprout in Wisconsin, and a successful farmer in Illinois could leaf through a pattern book to order lancet arch window sash for a fashionable Gothic Revival farmhouse. Balloon framing, thin studs nailed rather than notched, made walls lighter, cheaper, and faster to raise, feeding a national appetite for change and simultaneously bargain construction. By the 1850s, the skyline bristled with bracketed cornices of the Italianate, equal parts Tuscan villa and Yankee exuberance. Then, Paris rewrote the playbook. Photographs of Napoleon's mansard-roofed boulevards crossed the Atlantic, and the Second Empire House, tall, mansarded, and often sporting cast-iron cresting, became the form of choice for post-Civil War politicians and mining barons alike. As the nation healed, nostalgia blossomed. The colonial revival of the 1876 centennial reimagined Georgian symmetry in white clapboards and Palladian windows. It promised social stability during dizzying industrial growth, but there was room for swagger too. The Italian Renaissance revivals staged loggias and rusticated stone on Newport cliffs, while the stick style, all spindlework and diagonal braces, celebrated the visible skeleton of balloon framing itself. For the upper middle class, no trophy loom larger than a turreted, color-splashed Queen Anne, windows of every shape, shingles laid like fish scales, and perhaps a porte-cochere for the family's first automobile. At the turn of the century, the Beaux-Arts pageant reached full volume. Banks and mansions alike wrapped themselves in limestone with soaring Corinthian columns, festooned and laden with entablatures. Yet even as architects channeled Europe, regional voices whispered new possibilities. In California, the Mission Revival flattened facades into stucco plains punctured by arched arcades. In the chilly Midwest, descendants of German and English immigrants produced the half-timbered storybook silhouettes of Tudor Revival, while bungalow evangelists on the West Coast hailed a simpler creed. That simplicity crystallized in the early 1900s arts and crafts movement. The craftsman bungalow, with its low-pitched roof, exposed rafters, and built-in bookcases, offered affordable artistry for the rising clerical class. Frank Lloyd Wright pushed the idea further. His prairie house spread wide, hugging the earth with ribbon windows and open plans that dissolved the closed floor plans of the Victorian era. In New Mexico, Pueblo Revival showed how indigenous adobe massing could converse with modern schools of thought, just as Addison Meisner was down in Florida weaving wrought iron balconies into romantic Spanish Revival haciendas. No wonder the stately French eclectic churned along too. American buyers wanted choice, and the new magazines and mail-order catalogs happily obliged. World War I and the Jazz Age ushered in sleek curves and optimism. Art moderne, or streamlined modern, paired walls to white stucco, rounded corners, and automotive speed lines. At the luxury end, international-style modernists like Richard Neutra and Philip Johnson bared steel frames and glass, echoing modernist sentiments that considered architectural ornament a crime. Yet most buyers preferred compromise. The minimal traditional of the 1930s through 1950s shaved craftsman roofs, clipped Tudor gables, and delivered a tidy, affordable shell perfect for an FHA mortgage. After World War II, returning veterans met the greatest housing boom in history. Levittown perfected the assembly line ranch house, one-story picture window, carport, and a quarter-acre of hope. Television sets, air conditioning, and highway culture stretched the family life horizontally. Garages migrated forward, kitchens opened to breakfast nooks, and backyards became stages set for charcoal grills. In sunnier climates, architects dabbled with butterfly roofs and glass walls, mid-century modern classics. By the 1960s, A-frame ski cabins pierced mountain skylines, while cedar-sheathed contemporary split levels tiptoed down forested slopes. Then came postmodernism, whose architects almost haphazardly pasted classical columns on high-tech boxes, and deconstructivists who twisted facades into fractured planes, asking homes to behave like sculpture with plant shelves and niches galore. At the mass market end, speculative builders, most with no semblance of an architectural education, stitched together rambling rooflines, Palladian windows, and three-car garages into even larger McMansions. Critics howled at their pastiche, but buyers loved vaulted great rooms and the overall bang for the buck. Some mainstream design bloggers soon coined the gentler term New Traditional, praising versions of these McMansions that resurrected historical details, lending a little bit of direction to an otherwise confused aesthetic movement. As the 21st century matured, two forces reshaped the blueprint: efficiency and connectivity. Advances in spray foam insulation, solar panels, and heat pump HVAC made net zero homes feasible on an upper middle class subdivision scale. In these homes, you might find flex rooms instead of formal rooms. After all, who needs a formal dining room when the kitchen is the size of a garage? And simultaneously, culture has pivoted indoors and outdoors all at once. Post-pandemic remote work revived the home office. Sliding partitions and pocket doors let bedrooms moonlight as Zoom studios. Meanwhile, Americans now invest more in decks, fire pits, and pergolas, turning backyards into second living rooms, often with eco-friendly composite boards that promise to last as long as the mortgage. And just like it was, and as it is today, we can predict that the future of American housing will be an ever-shifting collage, part nostalgia, part invention, always reaching for the promise of a comfy space to call home. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. Which style of home is your favorite? Let me know down below in the comments section. And while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.